What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Tea Tuesday, only it's Thursday, so technically it's Tea Thursday. I promise I'm gonna get better at this. This segment is pretty simple. I make a little bit of tea, and in the time it takes to make that tea, I talk to you, my lovely audience, about any number of topics. Back in college, when I was first getting into tea, I was kind of a snob. I'm guilty of that. In that I always wanted to have loose leaf teas. I never wanted to have bag teas because I was completely convinced that bag teas would leak paper flavoring into the tea. And of course, if you have tea bags that you buy off the shelf at stores, then obviously that tea is sitting in those bags, so perhaps the quality is not going to be as high because you're buying it so much later than what was packed. But after traveling a lot over the last number of years, I have come to the conclusion that bag teas are just a super convenient way of still getting all of the same benefits from tea. Antioxidants, the energy that it gives you, and the calming effect of the actual ritual itself. So that's exactly what we're going to do today, but the tea that I'm going to be showing you is a little bit special. It is Twinings Tea. Now, Twinings is a company out in the UK that has been around for centuries. Like the bags of tea on here will actually say 300 years of tea experience. And Twinings is a very reputable company when it comes to bag teas or teas in general. I just kind of had this at home and I wanted to present this as the other side of the spectrum, from the crazy loose leaf teas to being really simplistic and super convenient with bag teas. Okay, well, let's go ahead and jump into it. What I have is 185-degree water. That's technically just below boiling point. What they usually tell you about green teas is that you want to boil it and then let it sit for a little bit, and then it'll be ready for whatever green tea you're using. But of course, we have the kettle here, the cup that I use for everything. I do enjoy clear cups for tea. And then of course, the bag of tea that we're going to use for this. All right, throw the bag in there. It is a paper bag and the tea in here is very finely ground. So very small bits in there, which is why tea bags tend to steep for shorter amounts of time, because the concentration of the tea in there makes the flavor come out pretty quickly. No fancy tools for this one. All you need is just some boiling water and the bag of tea itself. If you are traveling and you are in a hotel room that has some sort of water heater, as most of them do because Keurigs are a thing, then you can just bring bags of tea with you, request them at the lobby downstairs, and you'll still be able to have a healthy cup of tea ready for you when you need to just chill out and maybe get a little bit of quiet time in your life. So we're gonna move this over to the side. And 2 minutes on the clock, and let's do it right now. Today's topic is something that I think all of you are really into already. If you are a YouTube fan and you do vlogging, perhaps, you might be a creative and you're trying to vlog on your own, well, you probably know this tool of the trade, the Gorillapod. Now, Gorillapods are not only super popular, they've been around for quite a while, and what I find funny about Gorillapods is the fact that they were kind of getting popular when selfie sticks were still kind of pariahs in the tech space. Now, think back to all the times that you saw a selfie stick in a museum or just out in public and you kind of scoffed at them. I find it funny that these days we have people who have Gorillapods like this, basically in a selfie stick motion, and it's perfectly fine. Now, obviously I do vlogs here at my channel, and that's exactly what you're seeing in these quick clips from previous situations where I used my Gorillapod, but this one's a new one. This is the Gorillapod 3K. Now, it's part of a new line of Gorillapods that have come out. They're updated and they should be sturdier than before, but that's not the one that I used to use all the time. It's actually this one. This is an original Gorillapod Focus. This is the large one. And fun fact, this is the one that Casey Neistat uses, or did use for a long time. I'm not sure if he updated it by now, but the updated version of the Gorillapod Focus is the Gorillapod 5K, and that one's made of metal, which means that it should be even sturdier than before. But as far as the general tool goes, you kind of know what exactly to expect with the Gorillapod. These joints allow you to wrap the legs around pretty much anything, and you can get shots that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise, especially with a more traditional tripod. All right, so that was an easy 2 minutes already. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about the Gorillapod. Let's go ahead and take the tea out of the cup. Now, this is another thing. Whether you're using loose leaf teas, like you saw me last week, or bags of tea, you want to take the tea out of the hot water once the amount of steeping time is done. The reason why is because if you leave it in there, you could get a stronger cup of tea, that's true, but more often than not, if you forget about it and it stays in there for way too long, you just get a bitter cup of tea, and no one wants that. So the tea that I'm drinking in this video is a jasmine green tea from Twinings, and jasmine teas tend to have a more floral scent to them, and also when you taste it, you get a little bit of that as well, because smell is a lot of what taste is. And if you ever go to any Chinese or Asian restaurants and they serve a pot of tea, generally they're serving jasmine tea, and because of that floral scent, the bitterness gets cut by it, so even if you leave the leaves inside of the hot water, it's not going to really ruin the taste. I still recommend that everybody take the tea leaves out of the water, however, once the steeping time is done. So speaking of the vlogging rig, why don't we go ahead and do a quick example of that right now. All right, and there you go. So this is what the vlogging rig would look like, and with it on the Gorillapod, I'm just holding it out, extending it so I get a good framing of myself. And again, this is not really something that you're probably all that unfamiliar with. This is something you're used to seeing on YouTube now, but I kind of wanted to cover my bases because I got a few comments from earlier videos saying that I should talk about what kind of gear I use for making my videos. But you can put anything on here. I even have mounts for phones that I use when I'm vlogging with a smartphone. If you want to check out all of the gear that I use, then you can go into the description down below. And yes, I do have affiliate links. So if you are looking to look at some gear that you want to use for your own videos, consider using the links down below, because if you do use them, then that does help me out a little bit. Just want to make sure to be as transparent with you guys as possible about what you're finding in the description. I've also added a link down below to some teas that I think you would like. Probably next week I'm going to talk about matcha tea, and the reason why I want to talk about that is because I will be traveling, and matcha tea is one of the easiest teas to have because you don't have to steep it. You just have to throw it in either hot or cold water and you're good to go. Head down into the description if you want to check out anything that I'm presenting in these videos, and then stick around for vlogs, gaming videos, type 2 foodie, and also tech and tea here at the Joshua Vergara YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks for hanging out, guys. So from there, I'm going to go ahead and call it, and just remember, enjoy your tea, everybody.